I would love to be a part of that. I really would. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Awesome. You know what I don't want to be a part of?
What's that?
This book anymore. Hey there, everybody. Welcome to Pixel It. My name is Kevin. With me, as always, is Phil. And today was part 2 of Gabriel Knight's Sins of the Father. We didn't really like the book in part 1. And in part 2, we're coming in hot.
It does the worst thing it could have possibly done, where it starts to actually dig itself out of the hole. It gets a job. It starts calling its mother on Saturdays again. It stops ghosting that nice girl that it met on Bumble, and then just when you start to go, well, maybe they've turned over a new leaf. The book does a line of cocaine off a stripper's back, and we're back deeper still into Assholeville. And oh boy, this book.
Oh boy. Here's a good example of my headspace with this book is in part 1 when, I was giving the book all due credit that I felt it deserved. I was taking detailed notes. I took like 6.5 pages of notes on the things that were going on. And I was like, I'm gonna, everything, little thing that happens. Last night, I finished reading this second part of the book that we had laid out, and so my process is I read the book, and then probably the next day I go and I kind of do a skim and like take down notes on the beats and plot points and all that stuff, so I can kind of walk through them. So 5-6 pages of notes for part 1, and for part 2 I took. In total, 1.25 pages, and I didn't take any notes on chapter 6 because when I got to chapter 6, I just couldn't even skim it again. I was so angry.
Yeah, it really
I kind of know what happens. It doesn't matter though.
Yeah, this was one of those books. This is one of those books, especially this section of this book. Where you and I have been doing this long enough. We're coming up on our 100th episode.
Coming in hot.
Yeah, we have been at this for a while. It is not our career yet. We still work our day jobs and that kind of thing. But we've always taken the show seriously. We have always made sure that there was something. There's always been a warm plate for you kids waiting in the oven, no matter how late you get home on a Friday night. We always have an episode. We always have some content, and because we work really hard at this and we really care about this. And this section of the book was one of those rare moments that I went, wait a minute, this isn't my fucking job. This isn't my job. This isn't my job.
I'm not putting any more effort into this goddamn thing.
Right. I read it. I committed pieces of it to memory, not the pieces the author hoped I would. Yeah. And I was like, okay, we're done. We can talk about it now. I do not have to. If this were my 9 to 5 reading these books, then yes, I would have gone a whole lot deeper into analyzing this. But Mother of God and Mother of Pearl, Holy Toledo, the holy trilogy of euphemisms for our, gosh, this is just bad. It's bad.
Anyway, and BT Dubs, I did click through a Let's Play of the game, and a lot of the worst offending. Here's the thing: is it's bad, but it's also offensive. A lot of the worst, some of the worst offensive stuff in the book is not in the game. It was added later just for the book.
Yeah.
There's still some really dodgy shit in the game. When I look through the Let's Play, it's it's handled all the tact and care of white people in 1993 could possibly handle a story about black characters with voodoo. I mean, which is none, no tact.
None whatsoever.
None whatsoever.
None whatsoever.
So anyway, yes. So the book expands the worst of some of those scenes to 4 years later. The book is written and expands some of the worst scenes into making them just like, ooh. So okay, let's get into it. Go ahead.
Well, it's like George Lucas, where he's like, these were the movies I wanted to make when he ruined the original trilogy and everything.
Sure.
It's like if George Lucas wanted the original trilogy to be more racist somehow.
Yes, somehow he wanted it to be more racist. He's like, we're just gonna really add a whole bunch of. Well, he did. He made he was like more Tusken Raider stuff. Yeah. Which is probably up there. Tusken Raiders and Jar Jar, right up there. Oh
boy, yeah.
I say this as I'm wearing a Star Wars shirt. Jesus Christ.
Well, it just shows that you know what you're talking about.
I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah. So anyway,
when I tell you to dump a body in the marsh, you dump them in the marsh.
Chapter 4, St. George's Bookshop. By the way, I've been saying Malia because that's what I assumed the name was pronounced as, because that's how the president's daughter, the former President Obama's daughter, is Malia. But in the game, it's Malia.
Oh, I don't remember that.
So if Tim Curry is wrong, I don't want to be right.
Yeah, fair enough.
So Tim Curry, for those of you who don't know, was the voice of Gabriel Knight in the original version of the game, which I believe, as you said, is no longer available to purchase. Did you say that, Phil, or did I? I forget.
Yes.
It's not available.
Exactly, yeah.
Tim Curry was the original voice, and Mark Hamill was the original voice of Mosley. So, just fun facts. Anyway, Malia and Gabe sleep together. Fine. Grace is annoyed when he comes out of the back room. Gabe tells her all about the information he figured out yesterday. Grace shows him a photocopy of an article from 1910 with the same, and I don't know the pronunciation of this, if it's Vive or Veve.
I think it's Veve.
Veve in a crime scene, and that's what he had the guy reconstruct. So Gabe goes to the Voodoo Museum. So there's this weird scene where Gabe gets bad vibes while he's driving by the river, and he has like a panic attack. And then he goes to the Voodoo Museum and he asks Dr. John for information on a local voodooan, who I guess is a voodoo fortune teller. It's not necessarily explained. And he refers him to Magentia Moonbeam. And then Gabe shows Dr. John the symbols on Marie Laveau's tomb that he found days prior. And Dr. John's like, it's graffiti. Yeah. And also,
yeah, that's the ticket.
That's the ticket. It's very specific geometric graffiti. Also, you shouldn't be going to the cemetery alone. And then the white boy is implied.
Yeah. There are a couple of moments like that in this book where the character stops short of calling him a cracker or white boy or something like that, and you're like, okay, yeah, that's fair. That's at least
it would have been
good
deserved
writing.
At this point.
Yes, it would have made a lot of sense.
Whatever you want it.
Yeah,
whatever you want. Gabriel Knight deserves it.
He totally does. Yes,
he totally does.
Yes.
He goes to Magentia Moonbeam's shop. She seems mostly to just be like an act. But she does know something about the code on the side of Marie Laveau's tomb, and she has like a thing to kind of translate it.
Yeah,
and they translate it to DJ Conclave tonight. Bring It's bring fwet cash, which spoiler. I'm just gonna tell you, the fwet cash is the ceremonial whip that they use. It takes Gabriel like 5 scenes to figure this super difficult word puzzle out. It's like, oh, there's a space between the two.
It's so funny because so many other times he knows what to do before he knows what to do, and it's like he's reading a walkthrough of his own life. And then for some reason, it's the word puzzle that just completely
totally
fucking eludes him.
Trips the author up. I just imagine Gabriel Knight in New Orleans walking around with a book, like a Prima Guides of
Game Facts.
A Game Facts printout.
Yeah, and it's got the what do they call it? ASCII,
the ASCII font.
ASCII, yeah.
It's his face on the top. It's his face. It's his face out of dashes and asterisks.
Oh, where's that meta-breaking game? I would play that. That sounds great.
Oh God. He goes to Napoleon Bar and Sam is not there, but Gabe gets the bracelet from the bartender who Sam left to go back east. Sure. So he gets the bracelet. Jackson Square. He goes to Jackson Square and there's a bit of a weird chase scene between Gabe and Crash, who was the gentleman that Gabe had seen in the police station earlier. During this sequence, our author uses a dated and offensive term to describe Crash's skin.
Oh, boy. That
he is 1/4 black, and I'm not even going to say the word that she used.
Well, it's a word you'd hear in a Quentin Tarantino movie. It is not a word people use.
It would be a word you'd hear in a Quentin Tarantino movie because Quentin feels way too comfortable.
Way too
And it would be
comfortable.
said by the character that Quentin is playing.
Yes. Yeah, he'd make a point.
He'd make it a point to say that. So, and this is just, it's not even in dialogue. There shouldn't be... There's not like an excuse of like, oh, it's a character that is like.
Yes, exactly.
That is like, it's not some old Southern gentleman, some New Orleans, New Orleans man who's just like, oh, and he's saying the words. He's saying some offensive words.
And you'd go, well, yeah, that might be something a guy like that would say.
No, this is just in the narration.
Yeah, this is the narrator using this term. Yeah.
So anyway, that happens. Crash passes a message to a guy on a rada drum, and then Gabe continues to chases him into the St. Louis Cathedral. Crash is like dying. As Crash puts it, he is turning into jello. And he coughs up some blood and gunk and stuff like that onto the floor. Crash gives some information about the Conclave and the Han 4, and also how like his tattoo, the tattoo that Crash has on, which is like it's a caduceus type of looking tattoo. The one that he has on his chest is important for showing that you are owned by the voodoo people. And then he dies.
And I will say, when I brought up at the beginning of this episode that in this section we start getting some parts where I was like, okay, all right, the writing is picking back up. This scene was an example of that. It's actually very effectively spooky the way that Jensen describes what's happening to this guy's skin and what he's melting down basically. it's effectively
Skin
creepy.
looks like cottage cheese.
Yeah, and there are a couple of scenes like this where the scares are where I actually did find myself kind of skeezed out. It was creepy, and it was effective. But at this point, we've also gotten into a lot of questionable shit. Not the least of which is as Kevin and I pointed out quickly in the last episode. Everyone was very quick to say, well, this isn't voodoo. This isn't voodoo. And we had criticism like, well, they're still using the trappings of voodoo to be spooky, and that's still questionable. Sure. But at least they're saying this isn't how voodoo works. This is the section of the book where they just go, no, this is super voodoo.
This is the super duper hidden voodoo that none of y'all knew about. And I knew that it was going to get to this.
I was hoping it wouldn't.
It was just like they doth protest too much in the first 3 chapters. For the second 3 chapters is suddenly like, all right, now that we've gotten all the hand wringing and obfuscation and the couching and all that stuff, now that we've done all that, fuck, you want to talk about some real spooky voodoo here?
You want to see some shit?
You want to see some shit, and as the reader, you're like, no. And we're like, well, here's some weird old racial terms for you. And you're like, why are you showing me this? And be like, and they're like, it's going to get bad. And
this is going to get real weird.
This is going to get real weird. And us as the readers are like, well, we're only reading this because it's a podcast. Mm-hmm. So moving on.
Like, that's fine. We knew that this day was coming.
We knew this day was coming.
They were way ahead of their game.
Since 1997. Okay. Gabe goes to the police station and tells Mosley that Crash has died. Mosley assumes it's probably just an overdose. And Gabriel then yells at Mosley for being a chicken shit and storms out of the room. So basically, the case is closed. They have decided that it's just some sort of local group just killing off, because they were all the victims were Chicago Mafia, and they just didn't. It was like, and the police have decided better the devil we know than, some out-of-towners. Like, we'll get to them eventually. Right. Like, the Chicago Mafia has backed off on moving down here. So whatever, it's fine. Yeah. I feel like that whole thing is never explored enough.
Not really. No. Yeah, it's like when they bring that part up here, and they're like, well, but it was a bunch of Chicago mobsters that got killed. And I'm like, it was? Like, that was not a red herring? That was real?
That was real. Oh, okay.
Okay. I guess. Like, all right, yeah, it's little details like that where like, no, but really though, which I guess that is kind of how conspiracies work in real life. Sure. It's like not everything. Sometimes there are just some weird details. Yeah. But not in a computer game, not in a point and click adventure game. It's so random. It's so random.
Yeah, it's random. So, he's so angry, he stands up too fast and he knocks the chair over and he goes out. And afterwards, Gabe is so angry, he gives himself a pep talk into going it alone.
So weird.
Then he goes back to the bookstore and Grace is like, hey, the case is closed. And he's like, I know. And then he's like, can you look into Rada drums? And then he has this weird bit where he just starts laughing a lot.
Yeah. He gets weird here. Weirder than normal, I mean.
Weirder than normal. And then Grace is like, I'm leaving now. And then later that night, he booty calls Malia and she asks him to come over.
Hooray.
Hooray.
Our hero got laid some more.
Their love story continues.
Oh, yeah. Thank God for that.
Thank God for that.
I think we were all concerned about that love story there.
Super concerned.
Oh, boy.
Chapter 5, back at St. George's Books. Wolfgang Ritter is called again, and Grace founded Rada Drum Book Dealer in Philadelphia. Gabe, remembering that Wolfgang, oh yeah, he's actually family. He calls Wolfgang back. Gabe is weirdly mean about everything Wolfgang says in this conversation. Like the old man, the crazy old man, and be like, Gabe, what the you're okay.
It's like we haven't talked about this guy. Like, why are we suddenly? Yeah.
Yeah, the conversation, it blows. He wants Gabe to leave town, but Gabe isn't going to leave town, and Wolfgang is going to send him a book. And also, Gabe is a Schottenjäger, or shadow hunter.
Yes.
Good
And
to
it's
know.
German, so you know it's real spooky.
It's German. Schottenjäger.
Schottenjäger. Okay.
So after that, Hartridge calls. He had a breakthrough and wants to talk. Gabe has another weird interaction with Grace, and then he leaves. Back at Tulane, Hartridge is dead-ski.
Yep.
So Gabe goes to the police and reports the death, and Mosley's like, oh, you're reporting another death. This is mighty suspect
Yeah.
that you're doing this again.
But by the way, kind of like heads that off eventually. Like when Gabe finally is like, he's like, I mean, look, I know how this looks, and he goes, nah, you wouldn't have killed him. It's like, oh, so there's no, okay, great.
Like he says you're whacked, but you're not that whacked.
Right. Which I was relieved by, frankly, because I was worried we were going to get some tension and dramatic irony and
some stakes and
some
consequences.
Stakes. Yeah, beyond weird ass random German great grandpappy shadow hunter shit.
Schottenjäger.
I think it's worked for 100,000 crime stories up until now that he's getting pinned for this murder. Why not stick with that? But whatever, fine.
Yeah, whatever. So Mosley's like, all right, give me evidence and I'll help you out. After leaving, Gabe's like, wait a minute. Dr. John.
Yeah.
So he goes to the Voodoo Museum, and hey, now the snake appears out of nowhere and starts boa constricting itself around Gabe's neck.
Just drops on him.
On him.
Yeah.
Like from the ceiling or something like that.
Yeah. It was up in the drop ceiling and it just like
it was in the drop
out.
ceiling and it just collapsed. Yeah. And so yeah, basically what happens is Gabe fights off this snake, and then or he doesn't fight off the snake. He can't. It's a boa constrictor. He remembers that there was that ceiling fan that he touched earlier, and that it's like it scares the snake. So he stumbles his way over there and he turns it on, and the snake gets off of him. Then Dr. John's like, oh, hey, now you shouldn't enter dark buildings. Gabe leaves.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, I see your point. Goodbye. And
thank you,
that's
Dr. John.
Thanks, dude.
Thank you. So he goes back to Tulane and Hartridge's office, and the cops, like within 30 minutes, I guess, got the body out of there. And it's not even like a police. They're like not even treating it like a crime scene. They've already released it. He just goes into the office.
He just goes in. He just walks his happy little ass in there.
His happy little ass. And he goes in there and he does that little trick. He sees that Hartridge has one of those paper blotters, you know, the big old paper ones where you tear the paper off, and he's like, oh, all the notes are gone. And be like, wait a minute, he has a paper blotter. So he does the thing with the pencil. You know what I mean? Where he
it's the Big Lebowski.
Goes like the Big Lebowski, and he goes, and he gets Hartridge's notes. And he takes the paper.
He gets to see the scribble drawing of a giant boner.
Yeah, actually, that's not far off. Hartridge was drawing some big boobied women.
That's actually, yeah, that's true. and there's another comment where it's like looking at the big boobied women that he's drawing, you get the idea of why he chose African culture to study or something like that.
Yeah.
It's what the fuck?
It is just shoehorning in any like offensive stereotypical mention into the description of.
Yeah. It was a freebie. It was just like, this is just one for fun. You know,
just getting to put this one in here.
Has nothing to do with the plot or anything else. I'm just going to throw this in there for funsies. Holy shit, dude.
Yeah. So he goes back to the bookstore. Gabe tells Grace everything that's happened so far and gives her a lowdown on the Hartridge notes, shows her the naked women. And he's like, look at these. And
check these out.
Check these out. And then he's like, hey, can you look something up from these? And then she finds a scale on his cheek from the snake. And then she also sees the bruise from the snake. And then he says it's a hickey, and then sexually harasses her into leaving for the day.
Yeah. Our hero, ladies and gentlemen.
Our hero.
Oh my God. And look, this is not how scales work. By the way, they're not feathers. Okay, sorry. Just okay. Fine. Fuck it. Let's do it live.
Scales work like feathers.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's because a snake sheds its skin as like an entire
a piece
rather than like you can't just you're not just like breaking the scale off.
No. That'd be like it's not. I was about to make a metaphor of it being like you found a scab or something, but it's not even that.
You found a chunk of skin.
Yeah. You found a skin tag. You know, and it just, of course, that would imply that people are completely covered in skin tags. And I think we've all known that one person, but still.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Good
Ever
Lord.
accidentally like scratch a skin tag off or something?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
It is. It's like, that stings. Oh, it's bleeding a lot.
Oh, it's bleeding a lot. Yeah. Oh, I've been there.
Oh, God. So the snake scale matches. He goes to the police station and Mosley is acting super weird. Like the dialogue in this scene is nearly unreadable because every other word is Mosley going like,
yes, they describe it like I guess it's meant to be like a nervous chuckle or something, but it's like written as like fucking like Bond from Flintstones, like
Hey Bond.
I don't know, Fred.
I don't know.
It's exactly how it's written, and I was kind of already thinking of a Barney Rubble type with this character anyway, so we didn't need that. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So weird.
This book is in Barney, by the way.
Yes. Yeah. Barney Rubble.
Trouble.
Oh.
Oh, God.
That's bad.
And Gabe shows him the evidence, and Mosley's like, I am going to help you now. I am going to take vacation and go undercover.
Yeah. Because he was such a competent cop to begin with.
Super competent cop.
Yeah. All that the only thing that was missing from his career, the only way he could have made things better was if he had no funding and no no one to hold him accountable for anything. That was all that was holding him back, really. So sweet, awesome,
sweet.
Yeah.
Back at the bookstore, Gabe calls Malia again, and she doesn't pick up the phone. Then Gabe has his traditional dream again.
Sure.
So here we are. We're at chapter 6, which starts with at some point in the night, people broke into the store and sacrificed a rooster. Didn't actually finish it off. The rooster was still kicking when they
really fucked up
when Grace finds it. But yeah, so chapter 6, and this is the chapter I didn't even write notes on, but this is basically what happens is they find the rooster up at the front. They clean it up. At some point, there's a shadowy figure outside, dressed in all black, and there's a note that gets left, and it's Mosley. He's already doing his thing.
Yeah, exactly. He's already in it.
He's already in his undercover, that Mosley. And he leaves a note for Gabe saying, hey, if you need any equipment, I have some at my office. Like, here's a key or something to unlock it. And that'll come into play later. When, I don't remember it. It's in this chapter.
Uh-huh.
And then magically, Gabe gets the package from Wolfgang. He just talked to him yesterday on the phone, and the magic delivery service from Germany to New Orleans.
A portal through hell, and boom, it's there.
It's just like a hand reaches up from hell and deposits it on the it's Hell X.
What could you Red X. It's oh yeah, it's but what could you expect anything less from the Schattenjägers?
The Schattenjägers.
With their powers.
They ship through the shadows. All right.
Yeah.
So, and what follows is like about 20 or so pages of like journal entry. And God damn it. It is so boring.
It is boring.
So to summarize what happens, and you know what's amazing? You know what's amazing is if you go look at the cutscene in the game where this happens, it just summarizes what was in the journal. There's it's the narrator comes on with the faux Caribbean accent and says Gabe reads the journal. It's about his great grandfather, his ancestor, Gunther, who was in New Orleans as a witch hunter, the Schattenjäger, and she was there investigating a similar spree of quote unquote voodoo murders. And instead he falls in love with a woman named Titolo, who is, the queen of voodoo. And there's a talisman that's magic. And at some point Titolo gets captured and all of her people are getting burned alive, and he saves her with the power of the talisman, but she doesn't forgive him for letting her get captured in the first place. Yeah. And that's that.
That's that.
There's like 20 pages. There's a lot.
It's so much.
It's so much. At one point, Gunter does a blackface to go undercover, which, I mean, Jesus Christ.
Jesus. It's like, and they just throw it in. Another thing where they just kind of throw it in as a detail. In there. It's like, I couldn't believe she could recognize me because I had covered my face with pitch to blend in. You're like,
and I had to look that up. I was like, pitch. I was like, all right, let's see. And they're like, oh, okay, pitch, noun. It's like, it's using it's like a black root or something that you used.
It's like tar. Yeah.
It's like a tar. And you're like, that's terrible. What are we doing here? That is awful.
How did we get here? This is ridiculous.
This is all, bad. And this is all bonus racism that is added for the book.
Just extra freebie racism. Hope you enjoy that.
Freebie racism.
Well, I got to tell you, if I've got to have racism, I'm glad I didn't pay for it, Kevin. I'm glad that it was
pay for it.
It was free. They threw it in.
It's like free. It's free real estate.
Yeah, it's free real estate. They threw it in. It was part of the deal. What was I supposed to do? Not accept their racism for free? Come on. That's just leaving racism on the table, my friend.
So that's 20 pages of chapter 6, and chapter 6 goes on for fucking ever. But yeah, that's
chapter 6 is a good God. Chapter 6 goes on forever.
It's like 100 pages or something like that.
It's something ridiculous. It's insane. And I told you this, Kevin, I haven't fallen asleep while reading a book. You know, the whole thing of like you're reading a book and you literally fall asleep with a book in your hand and that hasn't happened to me since undergrad. And I fell asleep reading these journal entries.
Gunter, not a dynamic writer.
No, just not very interesting. That Gunter. You would think, being a shadow hunter would be super compelling and interesting.
It's apparently not.
Really.
It's apparently a lot of administrative work.
I think so. Yeah,
and undercover, and
a lot of filing.
But yeah, I mean, and the background of the story has to do with slavers and all that stuff. So it cuts pretty close to the issues of the day, this being the 1600s, but still it's just so bad. The way it's put together. So anyway, that happens. I don't think we're going to get Jane Jensen on the show.
I don't think that's in the cards. No, I think, that might be,
No. So anyway, he does some more shit. He figures out the pattern of the Rada drum, and that the Rada drum is communicating that there's a conclave tonight in the swamp.
Yep.
And then he goes to the police station, and now the police are basically like weird and zombified.
Again, another kind of spooky moment
another kind of spooky moment, and it's more along the lines of the way like the traditional voodoo zombie type thing, where you know what I mean, not like the Living Dead, but just like
mind controlled, basically.
Mind controlled.
Yeah.
So yeah, that happens. It's kind of spooky. So basically, he goes around back because he goes to the front. Officer Frisk says, "Oh, there is no Detective Mosley. There's no Detective Mosley on the force." And he's like, "Okay, that's weird." So he goes around behind the police station and he breaks in through a window into Detective Mosley's office, and he gets the stuff out. And like, he's like making a lot of noise, but they're not even paying attention to him. Like he realizes, and then he intentionally just like pushes over like a big old stack of papers, and everybody looks at him at the same time. Like their eyes, their heads just kind of like snap to him. And he's like, oh shit. So what he finds in Detective Mosley's desk are basically like the Apple AirTags.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
It's these little discs that emit radio signals that you can then track with a little radar device. Yeah, it's basically an Apple AirTag.
It's exactly what it is.
So he's like, all right, well, I gotta figure this out. He goes to the back to the Voodoo Museum, and there's Dr. John isn't there. There's a woman working at the desk, and he puts one of the tags into the little coffin that they have on display, and then he goes to the graveyard and he writes a coded message to DJ to bring that little coffin to the conclave tonight. Yeah. So that way, with it has a tag in it, he can find it, all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
And then there's I might have skipped something. I don't remember, but he goes back to the bookstore, and he has a real sensual moment with Grace, where he asks her to draw on him like one of her French girls.
Yep. And she does.
There's a reference to her caramel colored skin at some point in this.
There is indeed. Yes. It feels very heading off racism at the past, where like, well, if I'm racist, why am I making him fall in love with all these beautiful women of color? I don't think you thought that through, my friend.
I don't think
Yahtzee.
Yahtzee.
So there.
I don't know if how much pushback we're going to get from Sierra Online fans, but
Well, here's the thing. I'm a huge Sierra Online fan, and I barely know this one at all.
Yeah.
I don't think this one is particularly well remembered or any. I don't know how many diehard Gabriel Knight stands there are out there. Though we would still be pushing this.
Yeah.
God damn it.
Yeah, I think, and you know what's funny is I did talk to some people today about like, oh yeah, Gabriel Knight 2 is a pretty neat FMV, point and click game. And I'm like, oh, okay. The first one has got some things going on.
Yeah, it sure does.
It sure does.
I
don't know what the second and third one are about.
The second one is werewolves, and the third one is vampires.
Oh, okay.
So at least, yeah, we're avoiding. We're avoiding.
That is a little bit safer topics there.
Yes. Yes.
Jane, it's in the lane,
assuming we don't like go into like Skinwalker Native American stuff with the werewolves.
True.
I feel like we probably are okay on those ones. Probably.
Yeah, probably. So yeah, he gets Grace to paint the caduceus snake on his chest, similar to the way Crash had it. And he's basically going undercover.
Yes.
And he puts on the bracelet that he had molded, and
which he just inexplicably knew to do.
Which he just knew to do, and he takes the mask with him. The mask, which he calls like Billy Jr. or something like that. And he takes the mask with him, the gator mask that he bought for $100 goddamn
$100 for paper mache, and yeah.
So he takes
that's 1993 $100 too.
Yeah.
I
don't know. I gotta look this up now. 1993 to today dollars. $100 in 1993 is equivalent to $208.19 today.
That's not insignificant.
Hey, with a little sale and maybe some help from a grandma, you can take that $208 and buy yourself a Switch.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Nice Nintendo Switch. We got Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. You could do that. You could just do that and chill out instead of doing
any of this
or a misogyny, Gabriel.
Yeah. Gabriel. Looking at you, Gabriel.
I went back to my notes, but there's nothing there. Just clicked over and it's like, oh yeah, it's a blank page.
Right. Look, Kevin, don't sweat it. You didn't let yourself down. The book let you down.
The book let me down. It refused to let me in.
Yeah, exactly. It let anyone in, really.
So, yeah. Anyway, by the way, the subtitle Sins of the Fathers, just to go back for a little bit, Sins of the Fathers refers to Gunter's sin of turning his back on Titolo, even though he saved her technically.
Right.
Okay. Sure.
Fine.
And then the Knight family, the Ritter family / Knight family has been cursed ever since. Huzzah. Yeah. So that's there it is. The Sins of the Fathers.
The title. There it is.
That's the title.
That's the title.
So he goes to the swamp. He has his little radar dish, and he has just a terrible time getting through the swamp. But he does. But he does not enjoy it. There's like bugs and underbrush and regular brush.
He's in the bayou.
He's in the bayou. Gators, I would assume. At one point in this scene, by the way, while he's there on his way there, he talks about how he didn't know he needed to buy the mask. And now he has the mask and he's going to use it. And I'm like, that's okay. Just because you acknowledge the fact that you did some weird meta shit doesn't make it okay. It doesn't
make it better.
It's sort of like that scene that I saw a clip from that Rick and Morty video game, High on Life, where the gun that's always talking to you says something about like, oh, we're doing this again. We're doing like that's bad game design where you have to do the same thing 2 times in a row. And like, just because you have a
Yeah.
Justin Roiland voiced gun, which first of all, talking about how it's bad game design doesn't excuse it from being bad game design.
It's such a it's so I'm glad so many people can see through that sort of thing now. But they still do it, and it's it's just like, yeah, all right, that's different.
So he gets to the party, the Han 4, and there's just people dancing, and there's a lot of not great descriptions of the way they're dancing.
And the people who are dancing. It's just, I don't even feel like getting into it. We get a lot of focus on a dong.
Dongs,
if you recall, yeah.
Breasts and buttocks, and they're all taut. And
very
quivering.
And very Africanized in terms of that kind of fetishist kind of stuff.
It's very. That's the thing. It's very fetishistic. It's African fetishizing, and it doesn't read great. Dr. John is there, and he is drinking something and spraying it into people's faces.
Yeah.
The girl who was at the front desk when he was in the Voodoo Museum was also there, but now she's topless, and Gabe gets to see her boobas.
Yes.
So that's all described. And then there's a big moment where this woman with a leopard mask on comes out, and it's Malia, and she's like being possessed by the Loa of Titolo, and then there's a moment where she recognizes that it's Gabe, and they have this thing.
They sure do, Kevin. They sure do.
They make eye contact. It's lovely.
Yeah,
because they love each other. We've had
obviously
in like the near 300 goddamn pages we've read, we've had 7 dedicated to this riveting love story, and 5 of those were about them boning.
Yeah. The parallels between him and his grandfather are unbelievable. Because their great love story was also intensely boring and underwritten. So
it's right on track.
Absolutely.
So anyway, that happens, and then Gabe is like, I gotta get out of here, and he runs, and from what I understand, he basically runs into a tree trunk.
Yeah, I think he hits his head on a branch while he's running. He just clotheslines himself.
He's getting away. He clotheslines himself. But yeah, Titolo has possessed Malia, and is like, I can smell your. And it's like a real Emperor Palpatine voice. Suddenly, it's like, I can smell your blood.
I thought you were gonna take that the Silence of the Lambs direction.
No, I'm going Emperor Palpatine with this one. I can smell the blood, and it's the dark side, which is basically all this is. It's like there's good voodoo, and then there's the dark side voodoo.
Yes,
and is basically what we're getting here. This is a classic example of cultural appropriation.
Oh my God!
If you wanted to learn about cultural appropriation and really understand, it's taking elements or aspects or a culture that isn't yours, using it for your own shit, but also in this case, being really offensive about it. This is what textbook case right here.
Yes, it's and I think when we talked about this briefly, I was explaining it to my wife.
This is not her story to tell.
Yes, exactly. We were pointing out in the last episode that this woman is from northeastern Pennsylvania.
Yep.
Has spent most of her time there and then moved out west, I want to say. Point is she's not from New Orleans, and she's not even from the Deep South. She's not black. She's not a person of color. She doesn't have it. It smacks of a person who went on a long weekend trip to New Orleans and took all the tours and took like crazy notes while they were there, and then went ahead and wrote it. To call it inauthentic is. It's like hilarious. It's like you see someone go to Taco Bell and you look at them and go, well, Taco Bell isn't authentic Mexican, right? Like it's correct, but it's so stupid to even bring it up.
Sure.
This is one of the worst books we've ever read, but for a completely different reason than some of the other bad ones.
Just a fair warning to all y'all listening. It's probably only going to get worse from here.
I have no reason to think it won't. Yes. This is as I pointed out, this is a 400-page book. It's longer than most of the books we read. As we are coming to find, there's no reason for it to be this long.
Right.
But I did consider breaking from our 3-episode format and doing 100 pages for each section for this guy. And now that we only have one more episode of this to do, I'm deeply glad that I didn't do that.
Yeah, thank God.
We're just getting
you
through
made
it.
the right call here.
I think so. Because this last section's like 20 pages shorter than what we've read up till now. So we are going to break this thing's back and move on to a much better author.
Yeah. So I don't understand how the person who owned this before me read it.
Yeah.
And we'll go from
all people's copies should look like mine. It should look pristine.
Pristine. Yeah.
It shouldn't even look like someone's like, look, there's a dent, like someone clearly dropped it. But otherwise, it looks like people didn't even look at it too hard.
Right.
So that's how this book should be. Oy vey.
So, with that all being said, what are you playing?
Oh, I am still playing Resident Evil 4, and I love it. I love it. I finally got through. I've been playing it real slow, and I got to. I finally found what do they call her in the game? The little eagle.
Oh yeah,
baby eagle.
Baby eagle, I think.
Yeah. I finally teamed up with the president's daughter, and I love their relationship now. It is way better.
It's so lovely.
She's so much better of a character. I finally got through this stupid fucking the house is being clogged with zombies and we've got to nail up the windows. I hate that level. I finally got through there, and but I'm still loving this. This is I don't know if a remaster / remake should go on a Game of the Year list, but I don't give a shit. It's probably going on mine at this point because it just feels so good to play.
Yeah.
And while I've been watching movies and stuff with the wife, I've actually been still playing my 3DS, and I'm playing the Ocarina of Time.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. I'm having so much fun. I'm still in Boy Link levels, which is simple and really, really fun. And you do a little portion here and there. And I've gotten just deep into it enough to ask myself the difficult question of, am I really gonna play through the water temple? Am I gonna play this? Yeah. Am I really committing? Or am I gonna move on to another portable game when we get too into the adult Link stuff?
Yeah.
I don't know yet. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
But I'm playing, and it's the remake that 3DS did. So I'm playing a couple of remasters basically.
The adult Link stuff in Ocarina of Time is when it starts getting like spooky. It
gets real creepy. It gets very real.
You're basically in like a post-apocalyptic Hyrule when you jump to adult Link, if I recall correctly.
You got the weird desiccated corpse things going through the streets, and
those things. Those things are basically like the Ocarina of Time's version of Resident Evil 4's regenerators.
Pretty much. I mean, that's pretty much it. So,
which you'll get to eventually.
Yeah, I'm not thrilled. I've seen,
You've seen what the regenerators look like in the remake.
Yeah, I'm not excited about that one. Really enjoying it. So what about you, Kevin? What are you playing, my friend?
I'm still playing Resident Evil 4. I'm going. I mean, I've beaten it once already, and I'm just going through and doing another playthrough, just trying to unlock some stuff because it's fun.
It's super fun.
There's a lot of stuff to do, and I think is it tomorrow maybe there's going to be an update. Well, tomorrow as of recording.
Right.
There's going to be an update soon for Mercenaries, I think.
Oh, good deal.
So I think we'll be getting that soon, and it's been data mined that there's going to be a Separate Ways DLC eventually.
Oh, good. Okay, cool.
So I think I'm just going to keep playing it. I also bought some Resident Evil games for cheap that I hadn't played before. Revelations 1 and 2 and Resident Evil 0.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's pretty much what I've been playing. And also this itch.io game called Paku Paku, which is it doesn't even show up on Google if you don't know. I can send you a link to it. But basically, it's like, and I'll probably post it in the show notes of this episode because basically it's like just two-directional Pac-Man.
Funny.
You can only go left or right, and every time you collect, I think it's like 15 pellets. The pellets reset. There's always one power pellet, and the ghost is chasing you. And so you can loop around. You can loop around the level from the other side. The ghost can't do that, but it's fun. And addicting. And I should stop playing it because I'm becoming a little obsessed with trying to set a high score.
Oh, sure.
It's one of
That'll
those.
happen.
Because you're like, oh, if I just correct this one mistake, I can do better. That's the thing. Is like it's so gosh darn simple that you think if you can correct this one mistake, you'll be better at it. But then you make a different mistake the next time through. It'll be like, my thumb slipped or something like that.
Yep.
And then you overthink.
And you get the rhythms in your head. That's how I've been with the shooting galleries in RE4.
Oh, yes. The shooting
I'm just
galleries.
like, okay, there's a pattern. It's going to be this. So do that and shoot the guy in the middle. Okay, all right. I'm almost there. And then I get the S rank and I turn my computer off and I go take a nap because it's exhausting.
It is exhausting. You deserve that nap, buddy.
I really do.
You
too old
you
for this shit.
never shy away from that nap.
I know.
Yeah, but that's it. That's what I've been playing.
Good deal.
So that'll do it for tonight's episode. Thank you so much for listening. If you can, rate us 5 stars on Spotify, Apple, Good Pods, whatever podcast platform that you're listening to us on. Go check out our YouTube. Subscribe to us on YouTube. We're getting some new movement there. Go to our website, pixelitpod.com, where you can sign up for our newsletter. And when I'm feeling particularly excited, like the Beetlejuice, like feel a little anxious.
He's saying if you're feeling horny for us,
go to pixelitpod.com, sign up for the newsletter, join our Discord. Come on, have a little chat with us. Don't worry.
We're adorable.
We're adorable.
Yeah,
we're adorable.
Very charming.
Very charming. But that's it. Have a good night, everybody.
Night.